like living out here now, it's crazy how many people out, like consumers out here, or even breweries, have never heard of some amazing breweries on the West Coast. Yeah. And vice versa. So there's such a disconnect between both coasts. And I want to make one thing really clear. Yeah. Okay? Just because you asked me again the same question with East Coast, West Coast. The West Coast will always make the best West Coast. And I will take that to the grave because I have receipts.
You like cue in the doors here. The West is the best.
Just, again, I have torn men to shreds on the East Coast when they've had the audacity to tell me that the East Coast makes the best West Coast IPAs. When I mean I tore them to shreds, I left them crying.
All right, welcome back to the BrewedAt podcast. We're here again with some great guests. We have Ken from Human Robot and Breeze from MiLuna. Did I say that right? Awesome. So surprise guest tonight, and we wanted to have Ken on, I guess, to promote Logjamming, but now that we have both you guys, we can kind of talk about what both you guys are doing. So I wanted we start off kind of everyone with like where you came from. Like, I know that you came on here to promote Logjamming, but like, I think it'd be a shame to have you on here and not talk about Memphis Taproom and like how, I mean, even before it was Human Robot, you seem to have known everybody in the industry. So I just want to kind of talk a little bit about like, how did Memphis Taproom happen? And like, how did you become one of the bigger beer bar owners in the city or the whole kind of East Coast and know seemingly everybody in craft beer?
I don't know anything about that. So years ago, a friend of mine, Decker? Kurt Decker from 2nd District now.
I've heard of him.
Formerly, he was the owner of Nottingham.
Okay, yep.
So I started, the brewery back in '99. His partners were Tom Peters and Fergie.
Cool.
Through my affiliation with Kurt, became friends with Tom and Fergie. Trips to Belgium with Tom were just, unbelievably fun and interesting. So Kurt, myself, and Brendan Hartramp decided, early 2007, that you wouldn't have a bar. Looked around the city and found a spot in my hometown, which is Fishtown.
Did Tom already own Monk's?
He did.
Cool.
Yeah, and they also already had, they had Nottingham. Nottingham opened in '99. At that point, Nottingham's open 8 years.
Yeah, the OG Philly Craft Brewery.
Yeah, and Brendan was managing it.
Okay.
So they already had a little bit of a relationship.
Nice. So, it's fun. So then from there, you just kind of started to meet everybody.
Yeah, meet people there. A friend of mine, I don't know if Ed Friedland. Ed Friedland was family at the time. They're the ones that brought, the Russian River here.
Okay.
And Chimay and a lot of these things. Eddie and Tom Peters were knighted in Belgium together.
Oh, wow.
In the mid-2000s. and through them and through travel with them, I just got to meet people. I was always one of those, I was going to say pariah, but I don't want to say that. This kind of fly on the wall for all of that. And, we got the Memphis opened, and, from that, new doors opened. Breeze has the pleasure of working with Garrett Oliver. My first real experience with Garrett was him coming into the Memphis for a Tommy Arthur lunch in 2008.
Wow.
And, it was an amazing experience. People all across the country, Vinny from Russian River, Tommy Arthur, Dave who used to own Tornado. So these Belgian trips should all be just hanging out together.
Yeah, just very casually.
One of the most embarrassing things of my life was out on an all-day Belgian thing with Tom, and we all go back to the Beer Chin in Bruges. Tom and Kurt take a car. We take the train. They get there in a whole 10 minutes in front of us, and everyone's like, "What do you want? What do you want?" And I had ordered Druval. I had this. I ordered an Orville, and they all looked at me in one long voice and said, "Orval." I'll never forget it. But
you never said it wrong again.
I've absolutely never said it wrong again. But things like that, I had the opportunity to meet people, and when Human Robot happened, I had a lot of friends in kind of the old beer world. So through friends in the new beer world, like a friend of mine, Will Rivera, was working with Equilibrium. I met all these other people, and me, I'm kind of a jackass, so but I also like to have fun. So through that, I've met a lot of people.
Yeah, I think, what we've learned just as a podcast and just kind of being in the scene, really before you, there weren't very many cool breweries in Philadelphia. But Philadelphia has always been known for Beer City. And, Philly Beer Week used to be this monster thing. And we just had Rich, the director of Philly Beer Week, on. And he was basically saying Philly Beer Week used to be outside breweries used to come in, and like the out of town celebrities used to come in. Where now, I guess Human Robot changed. I don't want to say changed that.
One little interjection.
Yeah.
I am the highest ranking member of the Philly Loves Beer
Board. Okay,
it's
all
never
right.
been dissolved.
Right.
Rich is just taking it forward.
I stand corrected.
I mean, you had Jake in.
Yeah.
We want to have fun.
Yeah.
We were given an opportunity, lucky, for us, somebody that affiliated with us bought the building.
Yeah.
And we started a brewery, and we do what we want to do for us.
Yeah.
And for us means I grew up in the 70s, little 80s. Jake grew up in like the 80s and 90s, and Roller's kind of in between. So we have like little cultural icons and stuff and things we've loved in life, things we've hated, and we've kind of embraced them and leaned in on them a little bit. Take a little bit of leeway sometimes with some marketing, but we have fun.
Yeah, we always talk about like people leaning in and like doing what they are kind of good at and like what they want to do. It's kind of like, we were talking about this a little bit before we came on, kind of a different vein, but it's just like doing what you like, not trying to copy everybody else. And I feel like Human Robot is very much like you guys are doing yourselves.
Well, I don't know.
And
did Jake tell you kind of like the launch story and like where it all came from?
The launch story?
The launch story, like how it all came about.
Not exactly. I mean, I know you guys were kind of talking that you guys wanted to do this thing, and I know that this the space now kind of opened up from St. Benjamin, and then Andrew came on because he was already there, and then kind of everyone.
We've been talking about it over the summer.
Yeah,
we kind of kicked the tires on it. Jake had the name Human Robot, which everyone automatically said no. Brendan Hartramp was our original partner in this, and then he was busy, so he went to the wayside, and we got Roller in. And I cornered Rob Todd actually one time at a lunch. And we were having lunch. I was like, Rob Todd, what do you think about the name Human Robot for a brewery? He's like, Kenny, I like it. And I was like, F you to everyone at the table. RTA. They're like, what's that? Rob Todd approved. So funny forward story. I'm in Schilling last year for like Schilling Oktoberfest.
Yeah.
And there's all kinds of great people there all the time. And in that particular, Breeze was doing a women's forum, but they also had an OG beer forum, and Rob was there, and we came up, and Jeff Cousins came to me. He's like, hey, I want to introduce you to Rob Todd. He turned around, I was like, oh, Rob Todd named Human Robot. And he's like, well, honestly, I just approved the name. I have no name. But it really grew out of us wanting to do some traditional beer, some fun
it's
beer.
what Jake was saying. It was like the balance of like the human and the robot, and like traditional and innovative, and just kind of like embracing both sides of everything.
And at the time, my daughter was at UC Davis, and she'd come out of there.
Yeah.
And I found friends of her didn't really know foundational beers, and friends of mine were shitting all over hazy IPA. Kettle sour, I'll still shit on, but we do it. Just because I think it's
a business. If it's selling, some people like it.
My biggest issue with it, I believe it's demeaned and really took the barrel-aged market out.
Yeah.
Because people think that's sour beer.
For sure, it's covered up.
It takes 3 years, 4 years plus blending and all these other skills to do. Yeah.
I mean, you talk about your daughter. I mean, your daughter's now the head of what?
Yeah, she runs the mixed fermentation program at Burial down in North Carolina.
I mean, was that always the plan that she was going to get into beer also? I mean, is this a family business?
She runs her own path.
Just doing her own thing?
She was at 19 or 20. She was in a Dre Fontaine basement. We were talking about this today. Her first Lambic was Armand pouring it with like 5 of us. Again, with Tom Peters. That's...
So a lot of people that would like ruin craft beer. It's just like she's already seen the top. Like,
well, she was at like a really good school, Middlebury. She was thinking about, do I go to med
Middlebury?
School?
That's up by. I mean, they have amazing beer up there. They have like
Vermont,
they have Flat Pete. Was it Flatbread Pete? It's the pizza place up there.
Oh, you're talking about Folino's.
Yeah.
Folino's is adjacent to. Why can't I think of it now?
That whole town, though, is just like every bar is an amazing beer bar. It's like, I love that town.
Yeah, and it's right below Burlington. At that time, Lawson's was popping. The guys at Alchemist had reopened. So I had a great time going up and visiting her. I would see her for like 15 minutes and then score beer and ski.
Yeah, good to explore the town. So Breeze, welcome as well. We talked a little bit about Human Robot. We did not expect you to have you on tonight, but I guess you're in town to kind of help set up Logjammin as part of the director of Michael Jackson Foundation.
Yeah. So for those out there who don't know, the Michael James Jackson Foundation is a nonprofit organization that benefits people of color in brewing and distilling. and we're going into our 4th year. I've been a board member for 3.5 years, and just recently the board voted me in as a director of operations.
Cool.
Congrats. So I'm like, thank you. I'm the first official hire for the MJF. And Garrett Oliver, he's the president, he's the founder.
It just started 4 years ago? Mm-hmm. I feel like it's so big. I mean, maybe it's because Garrett Oliver's running it, but like you guys are like incredible. It's like, I feel like you guys have been a stable for so long because, I don't know, you guys are everywhere, and you guys are like giving out like these enormous scholarships to like all over the place. It's very cool.
So far, we've given out over $200,000 worth of scholarships. So for as long as we've been open, which is again not that long, we've had 44 awardees, and throughout those 44 awardees, to some people it might not seem a lot for the amount of time that we've been open. However, if you think about the amount of time it takes to have our cohorts open with the application process, having to vet the applications and then bring them on for virtual interviews, and then having to vote again and then reach out to them and then do an actual like media drop of who the awardees are, it does take time.
I mean, I think beyond just giving people money, like going through that's a enormous resume thing. Like people are going to put on their, like for the rest of their lives, that they won a scholarship through the Michael J. Jackson Foundation,
or the MJF is such a lot. Yeah, right. it's a lot. It's a lot to say if you're not really like familiar with it.
Yeah, but it's cool that you actually interview them to make sure that they're like doing the right things and kind of like they're the right people to be receiving these.
Well, yeah, and it's not necessarily the right things. One, we want to know if they fit the requirement, which is at least 2 years of brewing experience or distilling experience. But a lot of that is just we want to know the applicant. We want to be able to get to know them and meet them and really understand their true passion of what they want to do in the industry that they want to pursue.
Is it all brewing, or is it brewing, distilling?
Brewing and distilling. So yeah, like whiskey or even mezcal. It's really interesting seeing them again virtually, but it's also how they tell their story and how they've started. So it's really intimidating sitting in your own space, but also being on camera with 3 board members, and one of them, by luck of the draw, might be Garrett Oliver.
Yeah.
And so I get to partner with Garrett a lot in these interviews. So seeing the reaction of the applicant once they see Garrett on screen it's really great to see, because it's like they're meeting their hero, or they're meeting their idol.
And he's giving them like a scholar. He's not just meeting them. He's just like, I'm here to like award you something.
Correct.
Possibly. That's very cool.
And they're extremely intimidating. I mean, they're extremely intimidated, but it's our job to make them feel like, hey, we're here for you. Like we're here to show up for you. We're here to applaud you and also to cheer you on. And Garrett immediately kind of steps outside of like, hey, I get that. Like, I appreciate you seeing me in this light, but this is your spotlight right now. And we make them feel safe enough to open up and be vulnerable. So to hear their stories of not only struggle, but also their challenges throughout their life with being a person of color, starting off in the industry, it's not easy at all. And the amount of times that they've affected us where we'll start crying.
Yeah.
Because we know how it feels.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's this big disconnect with scholarship giving, where it's like we want to be able to offer opportunities, but never really understanding where they come from. It's more of like, give us a story, like college applications, right? And for us to not only understand where they come from, but also to relate to them, it's something that I wish those who donate could see kind of behind the scenes or being a fly on the wall, because those are the stories and the experiences that we truly feel like this person deserves this scholarship. This person deserves the opportunity.
It's also very cool. I mean, the whole thing about craft beer is it's like it's a product you can go out and feel. And like this is like real stories of real people going out and doing their dreams, following their dreams. And like it's like another thing that feels more enticing to like go and support them.
Exactly. And to be able to offer scholarships for technical brewing skills or technical distilling skills, it's not cheap at all. We're looking at $26,000 scholarships, $36,000 scholarships.
And these people are not going on to make millions of dollars after they graduate.
They're brewers. And we all know, I mean, you're a brewer, like I'm a brewer. We all understand what it's like to get paid.
We know before we got into this industry.
I mean, Ken's over experienced it, but we're talking like $10 an hour.
I'm a brewer, so I get it.
Yeah, it's literally peanuts for some of us or most of us. So for these applicants to come in and say, this is my story, regardless of what little I'm making, this is my passion, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I remember starting off in the industry, it was extremely challenging for me. Nobody took me seriously. It was such a trek and an obstacle course, one that I kept pushing through. And a lot of it came with more negative experiences than positive. And for us to be in these positions as board members and wanting to create an industry that's better for the next generation really means a lot to us, and we're extremely passionate about it. And I firmly believe that if you want to become a brewer or distiller, absolutely it should be challenging, right? The challenges have to be there for you to learn from your mistakes and continue your growth, but it should never be harmful, right? And I feel with the MJF and what we offer with scholarships, we also offer mentorship programs as well, where even once you finish your program, we offer a 6-week mentorship program where we match you according to what you would like to learn. Also, like your personality, if you're more shy, you're more outgoing. If you're really shy, then I have someone that can bring you out of your shell.
Yeah.
If you're looking more for networking, we have a mentor for you. If you're looking more for management, training, or again, mentorship and having to manage a team because it's your first time, then I have a mentor for you. And these mentors are some amazing and brilliant people, brewers, brewery owners in the industry. So to be able to meet them and have access to them, all because of Garrett and who he knows, has allowed me to not only understand the beer industry at a higher level, right? Because I've never been given those opportunities as a shift brewer.
Yeah.
But now sitting in this role and having that access has allowed me to also express to them the importance of them sharing their knowledge where they are in life. So here they are wanting to pay it forward, and what we have happening right now in front of us with the MJF is incorporating a new style of craft beer industry practices, where you have someone in a position of power and advantage, being able to not only allow their resources to be accessed by someone who is just starting off, who doesn't come from privilege, who isn't entitled, who doesn't come with any advantages whatsoever, and there's this blend there. And the more experiences the mentors have with these mentees, the more that they realize how much more work needs to get done.
I also, it gives them a perspective to what it's like. I think sometimes upper management at breweries kind of sometimes forgets how shitty it is to be a cellarman. Mm-hmm. So it's like, it's very cool. It's like, almost like you guys are building a community. It sounds like so connected that even after people get the scholarship and go through the course, I'm sure there's still communication between all these people.
Yeah, exactly. And it's to have Logjammin.
Thinking of those varsity jackets.
Yeah. Oh my God. The jackets that the MJF gives away jackets for all the awardees.
Oh my God.
And so Garrett, because of his connections, he has these amazing collaborations with some amazing artists and the style and clothing industry, that he has these awesome jackets that he gets to give to these awardees.
Dude, I had the privilege of being at the big check ceremony, because part of CBC is to get these breweries around the country, Russian River, Lawson's, different yeast companies, for matching scholarships.
Yeah.
So they made the money. I think that check was over $200,000, right?
$220,000.
So as part of it, though, there were how many attendees?
There were 11 awardees who were present at CBC Big.
And is it their scholarship? Do they go anywhere? Or is it they specifically have to go to Siebel or UC Davis? Or is it just general scholarship to
They pick the program
career?
that they want, and one of the challenges is you have to really research the program that you want.
Yeah.
To make sure that not only can you apply for it, but it's something that you can actually handle. Because if it is a 3-month program, but only work is allowing you 2 weeks PTO.
Yeah.
You got to really figure that out.
So what was cool at this event, though, is none of these kids knew, none of these folks knew. So they brought out these varsity jackets, and they all got them, and it was amazing to watch the expressions on their face.
Yeah.
And just because they worked so hard for this. And one of the things that may get lost in here is how competitive it is for the scholarships. If they had more money, they could be a few 400 scholarships a year are given out. And it's so highly competitive that it's only the best of the best, I think.
Well, I mean, it's
and it's a shame
cool.
That some get left out, but that's what you learn, and you kind of come back next year, and you hopefully it's your turn.
Yeah, it's something. It's almost like it's a scholarship. I mean, it's a competitive thing. They're gonna say for the rest of their career that they're MJF award winner. It's very cool.
And they're already in the industry. It's just that they need work and everything in the industry. Dude, you don't have that extra money. You don't have it for school.
Yeah.
As you alluded to, you might not have the time. If you work for a great brewery, then maybe they're going to give you that extra week. But a lot of people aren't. A lot of people worry. The hard part about the brewery business, people worry more about the bottom line in terms of money than they do the bottom line in terms of staff, brew staff, front of house staff, but everyone kind of rising together. And when you do that,
publicly, the brewing industry pushes that they're pushing those ideals, and I think that a lot of times it's just a marketing thing that they're pushing. And maybe in the first couple of years of brewing, when everyone was growing so much, they could actually take those extra steps. And then somewhere they got lost, but they kept saying that it was just it's a lifestyle business, but
Or you get some rich guys that have money. They start a brewery. They hire a brewer.
Yeah.
And they think they can tell them what to do.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I truly believe we're successful is, for the most part, we stay in our lane. You had already alluded to Andrew.
Yeah.
Andrew's our partner now. He worked when they were St. Ben's. Nothing about St. Ben's, but he really wasn't allowed to have a wide berth into what he chose to make. And that experience was great for us, because this guy, he gets off on studying old lager recipes, and we get the benefit of that.
Yeah, I listened to a previous interview you did, and you're like, we give Andrew. I mean, wait, I said that wrong. Andrew just has it. It's just part of.
We don't give it to him.
Yeah, it's just that's what it is.
In the beginning, there was a little push and go because of hazy IPA. Because he was one of those kind of I don't want to say shit over hazy IPA, but he was very philosophically challenged with seeing the benefits of doing it.
Yeah.
And Roller had worked at Yards and Imprint, so that's why it was
that's the opposite.
Yeah. So, but there was a little go back, and then we've embraced all that. And for us, for the most part, we want to put as much effort in to a hazy beer as we do to a lager in terms of the perfection to the best of our ability of that beer.
Definitely.
Flavor profile, taste, presentation. But Andrew's been amazing with that. And what was interesting to me seeing this whole thing is all these Andrews in the room that are all working for somebody else in these brewers, and they haven't had the opportunity to have educational money. And also, frankly speaking, when you go to school, you have friends, you learn from others.
Yeah, not just the foundation, but everyone that they go to school with.
All these people they went to school with, they have touchstones for things around, and it just builds their own network. And it was just really rewarding being part of that ceremony. And it still brings a tear to my eye to watch the whole jacket thing.
Oh, I cried. There was a group photo, and I was just there watching them from a distance, and then one of them, Kevin Limonen, he's a brewer out of Highland Park Brewery, a great brewery out in LA, and he's a recent scholarship awardee. And then he goes Breeze, get in the photo. And they're like, yeah, Breeze. And I'm like, oh God, here we go. And I'm just literally crying. And Ken's taking photos. I'm like, these are all my bad angles. I'm an ugly crier. But it was just great to see all the hard work that we've done as a foundation out right in front of us, seeing all these awardees just right there when I've just only known them via email or virtually. But also the people who donated were in that room as well.
Yeah.
So we're talking about Lawson's, Lalabon, they're all there. These people,
Natalie was there, right?
Exactly, these owners, Russian River, and they were there. And so my job was after the awardees had kind of stepped away, I would grab an awardee and just put them in front of one of the owners or one of the organization.
Talk to this person.
Yeah, and I'm shake their hand, just talk to them.
That's what they need.
Definitely.
Going back to my experience with my daughter, because I knew some people. When she was at Davis at CBC 2018 down in Nashville, I was cornering people like Vinny and Natalie. I had them, Vinny and Natalie, hey, that's my daughter Rachel. Later on, Rachel interviewed with them and did pretty well. Ends up not working there.
Yeah.
Same thing like Dave Walker. But this gives now these guys an opportunity to have those networking opportunities, and they're really good.
I mean, networking, confidence, they're in the same room shaking hands with the leaders of the industry.
Exactly.
Not that I'm anyone, but through that, Kevin and I have become friends. We kind of chat a little bit.
Yeah.
Super, super great guy, working for a great brewery. And for me also, it gives me a little bit of connection with that world.
Yeah, whenever you go across the country to every festival in the world, everyone now. Cool. So I guess you are here for the Michael Jackson Foundation because of Logjammin, because Logjammin then donates the proceeds to your foundation?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Cool. This is where we need all of you. You can donate direct to the MJF, or you can buy a ticket to Logjammin, or you can give a sponsorship. But every dollar that's made goes to the MJF.
Wow.
Our struggle the last few years is actually making money, because beer fests are not inexpensive to pull off.
Definitely.
So as we're doing it this year, we're trying more and more to drive sponsorship. Breeze came down tomorrow.
Breeze, and then...
Yeah. Our boy Terrell.
Terrell, your fave trash man.
Fave trash man. So this year, Terrell came in, 6 months ago, 7 months ago,
cool.
Asking if we had any opportunities. He does community activism. He does PR. And I was like, oh, yeah, dude, we've got something.
Yeah.
Because I've learned that in the industry, every beer fest is asking other industry people for money, the malt companies, the yeast companies, and we're not producing what we think we can produce.
Yeah.
So Terrell's been kind of beating the pavement trying to help with that this year.
Cool.
And then part of it for him was, for these events, is having him on a trash can, having him on his own label. Yeah. I don't know if you even got to see that, but
Yeah, that's very cool. And it's like, it's not even just
great.
like, there's a cartoon in there. It might be him. Like, that's him.
Well, this is actually a picture of him
Yeah.
with the illustrious Jimmy Scantron. But, he was so happy about it. Put the label,
That's very cool.
Long live Scantron.
Cool. So, I mean, the Logjammin is coming up. Like, what's your life like right now? Like, it is the coolest beer fest in the whole tri-state area. Like, I've said this before. It does not feel like as much as it is a beer fest. When I say it doesn't feel like a beer fest, because beer fest has kind of fallen off the last couple of years, I feel like. And this is like resurrecting them. I don't know. We went to the goat races the other day. That was a lot of fun. But this is like, it felt like a party. And, it's how much work is that to then pull that together now?
It's a lot of work. We share the work with Meredith from Brewed Events.
Yeah.
Day of, she's gold. Leading up to that, we all take kind of different pieces of this.
Yeah.
And then hopefully it all comes together for us. I mean, this year we have, I think, 87 breweries.
Wow.
2 from out of the country, Schloss Eggenberg from Austria, the Mesrum guys, you're going to meet them. Well, we have a lot of fun from Montreal.
Cool.
And then, folks from all over the country. And it's fun.
You guys have bands there this year again?
We do. We've actually... we got Kevin Hansen as a band, and then do you know Jarrett?
No.
So Jarrett is one of our brewers. Jarrett was also a brewer at Tired Hands at one point. His band, Grave Bathers, played like 3 years ago, and unfortunately they were banned from the venue because we had noise complaints from everyone, including noise complaints from Camden when they were facing the other way. So I mean, it was like they were upset they were banned, but so now we have a new way of approaching it. So we got Jarrett's new band.
Just change the name.
No, it's kind of like a different philosophy too. I think we're doing like some 70s stuff, but the whole room is just camaraderie. Owners are coming, brewers are coming, my friends are coming, and I make friends. You alluded to me going all over the country.
Yeah.
Part of me, why do I go? Because Andrew's making great beer, and even if we don't sell it somewhere, if we're invited, I'm going to go out and, we're going to talk about that. We're going to get into gun turret, as I say, and like sling liquid, talk to people, evangelize. And this gives me an opportunity to show all my friends my city. And then conversely, it gives my city the opportunity to have the benefit of all these people coming and bringing great beer.
Definitely. I mean, like, I feel like part of it is just like the excitement. Like, part of the trouble of craft festivals is like people just aren't excited to go. It's just like an event where like people are like, it's marked on the calendar that Logjammin is happening. Like people are excited to come and they're bringing in this positive energy to the whole scene.
And us being the contrarians too, you got like Fidens and Trillium and all these other like North Park who are known for making some of the best IPAs and hazy IPAs in the country, pouring lager. Their lagers are outstanding. Yeah. Most people in our market don't taste them because the mules don't mule lager.
Yeah.
The brewers like lager. Everyone likes to drink a lager. Nobody wants it hauled across the country, to sell it for profit.
It's also like an experience, I think, that makes Logjammin so different from other festivals. Last year was my first time in Philadelphia, and that's because I was invited to Logjammin. And again, I've been in the industry for 11 years now, and then before then, I was an avid craft beer consumer. Yeah. So I'm fully aware of how beer festivals have always been, and it's always the same thing where it's just like some food vendors.
Pretzel necklace, a little tiny cup, and
exactly.
12% beers till you pass out.
And like that's it. And experiencing Logjammin, and I told Ken, and I even took photos. I did a series of photos where it looked like it was camp, like you were just like at Camp Logjammin.
It was so
because of the camaraderie between the breweries, and not only that, it's the way the entire space was set up, where none of the breweries were like spread out everywhere, where you would kind of lose consumers.
It's all in the middle, right? And then you just circle around it.
So last year we did that for constraints because of an art project, but it's what I wanted to do because part of it for me is the fun. Like I was at Yards yesterday for Ale Fest. I'm the only brewer that was pouring. Like everyone else is their volunteers and other people. I forced my way in because I'm the best person to evangelize our beer, I feel. Yeah. And they also like the experience that people experience with me on the road, if you will, being a little bit of a jackass, having fun, but also talking about the beer and our philosophies, I thought would be better served me back there. And it was just fun, but all these guys back there, like, I'll make them drink Underbergs. Like, one guy that people have never had that. I'm like, oh, yeah, this is what I do all the time. We're having a good time, like, yelling at people.
No, it's cool. And I know it's like, it's a
and
weird.
There's 85 of us doing this all at the same time, or 100 plus.
It's
great.
It's a weird thing to say, but, like, you've become, like, this, like, iconic character in not just the Philly craft beer scene, but all over. And, like, not just not just
everybody knows about Ken.
Everyone knows Ken, and even like when Jake came in here, he said, "Sorry, I'm not Ken," when he wrote in our book. And he left. But it's like everyone knows who you are. So like for them coming to a beer fest and then like seeing you is an experience. Same thing you were talking about, like some of these people like meeting some of the leaders in the industry, like meeting Rob Todd. That's very cool. But these people see you on Instagram or see like people talk about Ken from Human Robot at festivals. When they come to a festival and you're there, it's part of the experience. And I think that's like it's cool and that you're there still supporting and doing your thing. And it's like it's good for the industry. I feel like everywhere you're going is like, you know, you bring positive energy with you and like this uplifting, like, you know, we're moving in the right direction.
I appreciate that. I mean, but also I'm lucky. I'm privileged. This is my job.
Oh, of course.
My job is to go and pour liquid. And to be quite honest with you,
well, you're good at
the
it.
reason that I can do that and I can have fun because of the production team and how hard they work. These guys are like working hard literally every day to put this beer in the glass. I mean, it's really easy for me to come in, pour it, you know, take a couple pictures, run around, and also kind of be a jackass because people will be like across the room, like, who's that jackass? Come have the beer. Beer's actually pretty good.
Yeah, but I get what you're saying. Like from a production person standpoint, like it is frustrating sometimes when like you see salespeople going out and like having beer lunches and like all these other things while you're just like in the cellar all day. But it is very uplifting, like when you're making the beer and it's selling very well. And like I don't think that's possible without somebody like you actually going out there and like making it happen. So it's like, yes, you're not like doing all this manual labor in the cellar, but it's like their job would be way worse if you weren't out there doing this. Like you're part.
We were at a brewer's dinner last year up at Schilling.
Yeah.
And, we made a beer with Schilling, so Andrew was up there with me.
Yeah.
And his partner Moira was there.
Yeah.
And we were talking about it. I was like, yeah, I can't do what I do. She's like, Kenny, he can't do what you do. And I think we are, you know, both sides of a coin.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, like for the most part, brewers are a little bit more introspective, sometimes quiet. I hesitate to say nerdy because they boxes them up.
Yeah, but they like being in the environment where somebody like you is at. Like they like being adjacent to somebody like you.
I was also, but like most of them aren't really as like being up there yelling, bringing attention to you. And, you know, frankly speaking, that's good for any brand.
Definitely.
You know, like, you know, hopefully you can back it up with your beer, but just any attention is good. And what I was going to say is I have fun. I believe it's good for the industry.
Definitely.
Because part of what I think was lost for a little while is this whole, whether it's muling or anything else, this camaraderie and fun around beer. And you're talking about Philly Beer Week. I've been there since the beginning.
Yeah.
You know, I was part of it, you know, from when it was in March, the first week. And it was always a lot of fun. And that's part of, I think, what's fallen off in beer in general. People can blame craft cocktails, they can blame this, can blame that. I think it's really just losing camaraderie, and beer is about people. You know, beer is about taking this glass, looking at that glass, looking at each other in the eye, and having some fun.
Yeah. Here we go. All about.
Sick of your POS system being a POS? POS Specialists, powered by Heartland, have been the experts in cutting-edge POS technology for over 20 years. But they're not scriptwriters, so they let AI write their script. Thirsty for a delicious deal? Feast your eyes on our tastefully crafted point-of-sale system. From order up to cash out, this POS is the coriander spice your brewery needs. It'll have you saying, Brost. Yikes. See? That's why they have a 24/7 live phone support, not chatbots. Their experienced project managers will program your POS, train your staff, so you can just focus on the beer and not worry about the AI. Ask about their free processing options, handhelds, and online ordering. Email kevin@posspecialists.com. Mention BrewedAt and get $500 off your install. Email kevin@posspecialists.com.
No, I totally agree. It's the negative attitude. And like, yes, we all love going on Instagram and like there's funny memes about like making fun of yourself on Instagram, but like at some point, like just there's just an overwhelming negative like feeling towards craft beer sometimes that it's just like it's almost harming the industry. Like people self-depreciating.
You said something earlier about our Instagram. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's this, and you find that as much in Philly. Because I think one of the issues is as brands get larger, they engage social media professionals, and I'm not against them, but you lose some authenticity.
It's very vanilla.
You lose some fun. You lose some, yesterday we had moved the pirate ship. I was late for it, but we had some video like just taking this damn thing down the street. You know, most people are like, oh, we got to clean that up. We're like, nah, we're putting it out as it is.
Yeah, that's why people fell in love with craft beer in the first place. You know, it's like something that they could feel and like it felt real, that they could be connected to. It was like your neighborhood
independent.
Yeah,
like in terms of yes, it's still independent, but it was independent in the sense of like independent thinking, independent acting, independent personalities. And I think there's been like a lull where craft beer just became generic.
It became like a lot of AI brands. Like
just a lot of like just juicy, hazy photos, and then and that's all that it was. And you could
tell there was nothing behind it. It was like a very nice picture, but there was no depth to it.
The authenticity of why the craft beer industry started, it's almost like it completely faded. And so you were kind of seeing and experiencing the same thing almost at every brewery that you would go to. And then now you're seeing like some of these new breweries that have been around for like maybe 4 or 5 years, and you're noticing kind of an uptick of people showing up for those breweries because it's just different, whether it's different styles or different vibes or just different, just whether how inclusive it is or just the way that they throw their events. That's starting to change a little bit more, where for me, I'm like, oh, thank God. Because I don't want to leave the industry. Absolutely not. I'm staying. But I'm like, to see the industry kind of starting to slowly shift, where it's starting to find its own identity again within its own self, with breweries that are opening up. Like, yes, just keep that going, because it just got boring for a while.
So let me ask you that. You're from New York, from Brooklyn. Like, that's kind of like the last, 8 to 10 years you've been up in the beer scene up there?
No, I born and raised in Los Angeles, and I've been living in New York for almost 5 years. So I moved to New York in 2019. So I've been able to have the experience
with
of
like $3 in her pocket.
$75. Thank you very much. So I was able to have the experience of the West Coast craft beer industry, and now experiencing the East Coast craft beer industry.
What is, I mean, as far as Philly, New York, I mean, granted, like, you haven't seen like kind of Philly industry like Ken has seen it, but like the New York versus West Coast, like what do you think that, because from my perspective in Philly, looking at the New York scene, it's just like they're always like a little bit ahead of us, but like exactly what you're saying, and like we talked a little bit about before, like it became like very bro culture and very like AI vanilla, where everything was like very copy and paste of each other. Like, do you think New York is still keeping ahead of the curve of some of these other places, or do you think it's still, I mean, I feel like everyone kind of looks at Brooklyn as like this hub, and the kind of the West Coast is like the hub of innovation for craft beer. Maybe I'm off on that, but like from my perspective in Philadelphia, maybe that's just because I've been here, and up until like you guys and a couple other breweries have been like restarting this, Philadelphia craft beer scene. It was like, we were looking at New York. Do you think that New York is still like kind of changing and leading things, or did you ever think that it was doing that? Do you understand the question? Like,
when I moved to New York,
yeah,
I didn't really fully understand line culture until I moved to New York. And for those out there who are watching this who don't know what line culture is, that's if there's a beer release that happens, like a collaboration, a very rare beer release, people will line up around the block or even 3 blocks down, and they'll camp out overnight for this to buy a 4-pack of this triple.
Won't be lager.
Like hazy. Yeah, it wouldn't be lager. It's like this hazy thing that's not bitter. It's just like, and it really just threw me off with like how people were lining up for this 1 4-pack. Where I come from in the West Coast, there's only one brewery that had that kind of effect, but that's because they had a collaboration with this brewery on the East Coast, and now that brewery became super hype because of them having that relationship. So that kind of transferred over to that same brewery, but it's not like that in LA, where it's like line culture in LA. So to see like the exclusivity of craft beer in New York, I didn't like that, because I always thought craft beer was for everyone.
Definitely.
And what I was experiencing in New York, like, oh no, craft beer is only for like these specific people. And
that whole philosophy to me is so stupid. And I went to a very famous, not your philosophy, the line culture. I went to a very famous Virginia's Breweries event, and they had everyone in one long line to access like 22 taps. And I think they thought this is like the greatest thing in the world. And I'm thinking, you're losing so much money. And you know what I mean? Because I understand, like I just think that whole philosophy is dumb. So I can imagine how you coming from the West Coast where you didn't have to do that, and now you're lined up and these jackasses are like sleeping in the night. I don't know, like.
And because of where I grew up and how I learned about beer, my first love of beer was a West Coast IPA. Where like the higher the IBUs, the better. West Coast IPAs for me, I had to learn to like them, but once I liked them, I loved them completely because I understood the complexities of what dry hopping and a 60-minute hop addition can do to a beer. And I love that. And then having to experience Northeast IPAs on the East Coast, I'm like, oh, the aroma is phenomenal and it tastes delicious. And it's a different experience. So it was definitely a different mindset that I experienced in New York. What I love about the New York scene of craft beer is the experimental hops that are being used, the hop programs out here. I'm out here on the East Coast, which is great. Lots of New Zealand hops and these new varieties of hops that are coming in, which you don't really see in traditional style beers, and I get that. I think my heart will always go to clear beer forever and ever. Yeah. Because I think clear beer is best, but that
Beer is beer too.
I think clear beer is best.
We were last year. We were at an event, and Breeze was there, and I was in the room with Fidens. Schilling was there. The Seed folks, and it's not Wayward Lane, it's something Life. But anyway, we're in there, and have a stitch file of like Howardtown. No one cares. So I finally made myself a little cardboard sign. It's like clear beer is beer too, because it was a haze fest. And I don't know. I always want to make noise about that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like sometimes I think part of that helped kill like the beer scene in some ways too.
I think it
like the overwhelming presence, and I'm not against hazy beer. I'm not against any beer. Like people drink, have fun, but I think that overwhelming people's palates and everything, and eventually I feel like everything tastes the same, and you've lost the nuance. It's interesting to me. I'm trying not to change the subject, but the West Coast IPA is coming back. Whether it's North Park or like Russian River, mild's coming back strong. And lager's been around now. Last year was maybe really
the hazy IPA is almost like a zero-sum game. Like everyone's trying to race towards. I mean, it was like the IBU wars too. At some point, it was like too much, and now the haze wars was like it's too much.
I love my boys at The Alchemist. If you ever have a crusher, though, you're like.
Yeah.
Triple dry hopped.
Yeah. You can't
10%.
out lager. Like it's like if you're just making it more and more like drinkable, it's like I don't think
put
that
that challenge down. We'll lager. The gauntlet's thrown.
What I do have to say about what I do want to really point out, and I hope it's really understood. It's in living out here now. It's crazy how many people consumers out here, or even breweries, have never heard of some amazing breweries on the West Coast. Yeah. And vice versa. So there's such a disconnect between both coasts where there are breweries on the West Coast that make some amazing hazy IPAs and amazing traditional style beers. Yeah. And there's some breweries on the East Coast that make some amazing traditional style beers. I mean, Human Robot, I love KCBC, I love Wild East, Suarez is making good beer, Schilling, I mean, I should be sponsored by Schilling with how much I post on my social media with how much of that.
We're sending it to you. Send a check.
I drink so much Schilling as well, but there are people in, even in LA who have never heard of Schilling before, who have never heard of KCBC or Wild East, and I'm like, you guys, this is, and that's one of I'm only one person, but there has to be a way to be able to connect the two, because if we want the beer industry to really have a long life, there has to be more of a unity or more of inclusivity, not only on both coasts, but also the Midwest as well. The Midwest makes some amazing beer as well, but there's got to be some sort of unity
you
across
dropped
the board.
Highland Park earlier. I mean, part of it is
oh my God, I love Highland Park.
Well, we switch beers with them, we send them back and forth so we know each other a little bit. But people they don't distro here, just like we don't distro out there. We don't sell beer anywhere. So there is a little disconnect. Like Green Cheese. A lot of people don't do. I was like, yeah, they're probably the best on the West Coast. They're like, oh no, that's this one or that's that one. I was like, well,
and Cellar Maker, there's so many. I mean, North Park makes some great stuff. So even if they can't distro out here, but that's where the collaborations really take place, and how you collaborate and who you choose to collaborate. It's just really more how do you? It's instead of don't think about yourself as a brewery, as an entity of a brewery, but think about how the industry is supposed to evolve.
How do all these individual breweries work together?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you said earlier about independence, and I was thinking everything boils down to Rudolph for me. Hermie and Rudolph, they're going to be independent together, But, you know, I'm only half joking. Like, that's part of it. All of small breweries, and we have some camaraderie now with North Park, with Schilling, with all these people, you know, and some of them are relationships with people like Trillium and bigger places, but a lot of them are just these smaller independents that we all gravitate around like they're in our world. You know, I just, you know, again, everything boils down to Rudolph. Like, I swear Human Robot is the land of misfit toys. It really is. We're in
and that might be just be Philadelphia.
Like, we're all independent characters. But if you look at everyone that works there, we really didn't fit in whatever those other worlds are. And our world together, we get along well, you know?
Yeah.
And I want to make I want to make one thing really clear.
Yeah.
Okay? Just because you asked me again the same question with East Coast, West Coast. The West Coast will always make the best West Coast. And I will take that to the grave because I have receipts.
You like Cuban the doors here. The West is the best.
Again, I have torn men to shreds on the East Coast when they've had the audacity to tell me that the East Coast makes the best West Coast IPAs. When I mean I tore them to shreds, I left them crying in their own hazies.
What beer did they say?
Yeah, I mean, what were they trying to argue?
Like, to me, Blind Pig would be it, but also North Park, like, Foo is amazing.
No, but then he goes, name breweries in the West Coast that make good West Coast IPAs. And the owner of the bar was there when he was like sitting next to me, and he looks at me and he's like, "Oh my God, please take it easy on him." Yeah. But it's just like, listen, my guy, you're not gonna come to me.
It doesn't even deserve an answer. Just like, all right.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, just to make it really clear,
it's fun to dress him down. She enjoys it.
I really do. That is my hobby. It's my passion in life. I do. I mean, come on. But every time somebody asks me like, what coast do you think makes this the best beer? And I'm like, what I will say is that the West Coast makes the best West Coast IPAs, 100%. And I will take that to the bank. So I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, ask, what is your favorite West Coast IPA?
My favorite West Coast IPA? I think North Park is one of like my favorite.
Like Foo or like something off of Foo?
No, Foo, yeah. Something off Foo. I mean, like clearly there's Russian River.
Hop Foo?
Nope.
So it was.
See what I mean? Do you see what I mean?
Gold medal beer winner.
Okay.
Beer of the year, a couple of years. Just great. Kelsey McNair is making amazing beer.
Well, I am plugged into the scene, but I'm plugged into like I live in my own world. Like part of this podcast is like I need to have people like you guys come on and tell me what's happening.
Also,
like
that beer only comes here. They come a little bit for Logjammin. It's not something that's in your normal ability to get.
Yeah. So you do festivals. Do you go to certain festivals? Like, how did you guys become connected? Was it through the MJF Foundation?
No, we connected with Breeze's former brewery. We kind of came across each other. And then when my daughter moved from the Rare Barrel to the East Coast, and just having some adjustment problems in the brewery she was working, it wasn't like there were big issues.
Yeah,
I would never like she would download stuff to me, and we had met, and I wouldn't want to like make it any more negative for her, but I would bitch to Breeze on the side. Like we didn't even know each other. Sometimes on Instagram, I'm sending these long Instagram messages, just to get it off my chest. And she'd be like, she was always. Great for me to kind of,
get it off your chest.
Yeah. So we became friends, as
I'm a really good listener. Yeah.
Ken's a really good talker.
Yes. So this really worked out.
God bless.
And he brews lagers, and I love lagers.
That's
so
perfect.
That's really what it was.
Yeah.
I get to talk a lot. She gets to drink lager.
Yeah.
It's a good relationship.
It worked out.
And then, frankly speaking, so the way we got involved in MJF, like the first Logjammin, do you know about the first Logjammin? You talk about
that was on American Street, right?
Yeah,
I was there and I didn't even know I was there. So Jay came on. I was like, wait, I think I was there. I just didn't even know it was Logjammin.
So at the time it was COVID. You couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
The city of Philadelphia, you were allowed to have a private party outdoors for 200 people. Like I was guessing for weddings and those stuff.
Yeah.
So I got one of those permits and we did Beer Fest. And we had folks come from like up and down the East Coast, like Oxbow came, Arlo came.
And the idea, like, Logjammin has become its own monster. Like, what was the internal dialogue like before Logjammin happened? Was it like we just want to throw a festival, or like?
Well, that first one we wanted to throw a festival.
Okay.
And the second one, I started going to things.
And was lager was already kind of your guys' jam at that point, or was it kind of like starting to happen?
It was for us, and really what it was is we would go out with lager on the road.
Yeah.
I would kick beer pretty fast.
Yep.
And it was mostly because of my friends that are also pouring beer, wanted to drink our beer because everything else, even that they were pouring, for the most time was haze.
Yeah.
Or kettle sour or something.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But when the second Logjammin came, we realized it was going to be a bigger thing. we had already started to delve into a few charities. And, you know, if I'm being frank, we're 3 white guys that own a brewery.
Yeah.
I may have a lady of color that's my daughter
Yeah.
that is a brewer, but she had the privilege of us having put a little money away for college. She got scholarship. She went to UC Davis. She lived in Belgium for a while. These kids don't have that opportunity.
Yeah, for sure.
And you know that as well as anyone, and she knows now in the industry, there's no money to be made there. So once you're in, you're in.
Yeah.
So we identified like MJF. I was telling Breeze earlier, like I cornered Garrett on the floor like CBC. We'd already picked a charity. And like, you know, I was like, hey, we're doing this thing. You know, I'd love to get you down. And he was like going to Italy or somewhere. But we kind of got his like blessing. And I knew him a little bit through old friends like Casey Hughes. And
he was the one that set it up, right? Garrett Albert set it up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he did it.
Yep. And it's astounding that nobody had really identified before the fact that, you know, the community was underserved. And I don't forget if it was you or something in the presentation. The other part of this, frankly speaking, you know, this is, again, like people give us money, you know, particularly larger beer brands, other things, that you're also creating a larger audience in general. Like everybody's always worried about the craft beer audience, like shrinking. There's such an untapped market in people of color.
Mexicans love drinking beer. Like throw a carne asada.
I mean, Modelo
put the
is just the
radio
number one
on.
beer.
We love drinking beer.
We were just talking about this before you came on. Before we started,
yeah.
just like, what is the solution to like craft beer's problem? It's just like maybe because you've been circling the same like 12% of the entire consumer industry for the last 20 years. I think they're a little bit burned out. Like there's all these other people that would probably enjoy the same thing, and we're just like totally ignoring them.
My cousins are like avid brewery goers because when I started brewing at this 10-barrel brewery in Boyle Heights, I had to teach my family what craft beer was.
Yeah.
So now like all of my cousins are sending me photos of them being at breweries now and what they're drinking, and them drinking like West Coast IPAs or hazies or pale ales, and it's like I was able to teach them that. And I have like 38 cousins, okay? So, you're welcome, breweries, because of what I've been able to do, but that's just me. Imagine what else my culture, my people can do for the industry if the industry was just more inclusive, not only on the back of house part, but also the front of house.
I was just in Miami for Tripping Animals, Irie Jungle. Irie Jungle's audience is probably 70% people of color.
Yeah. And they've done a great job. Like they've blended in like the South. Where are they from? Argentina?
Venezuela.
Venezuela. Yeah, they blended in their culture like perfectly with like the no mames and like all this other stuff where it's like legitimate people just from their culture. Like even if they're not into craft beer, they're like, wait, like what is this weird thing that was like?
It's the most that festival. And please write this down. That festival is the only festival where I've spoken the most Spanish in my entire life of experiencing festivals. And that's why I love Irie Jungle.
It's amazing. There's great beers. There's great camaraderie. Yeah. The families are involved. But it also shows in a microcosm of what can be done across America.
Yeah.
In terms of really embracing the culture and building the culture. And they went in there. They built culture there. There wasn't culture in Miami. There was none. They're in like Doral.
No, I don't think of Miami as the craft beer city, and like what they've done is like incredible. Like you can find Tripping Animals like in beer bars all over the city here, and it's just like it's sought after, and like they just started like what 6-7 years ago, something like that.
5 or 6.
Yeah,
they're
that's
phenomenal.
Crazy.
Yeah.
But it's just the whole philosophy of it and having fun and embracing it, but also being good people, treating your people right.
Yeah.
And bringing beer to the people.
Definitely.
And experience it. They make great lager, they make great hazy IPA, they make great kettle sours, but it's about finding the audience and like whatever their flavor profile is, giving them a comfortable place to hang out and drink. And also at the end of the day, they're fun. What I like about
fun.
whatever we do here in Robot, we try and have fun.
Yeah.
That's, for our philosophy, the people we want to affiliate with, the people who are invited to Logjammin, good people, good beer, they like to have fun.
Yeah, I mean, this whole idea of craft beer almost gets like too serious at some points, and like people forget like drinking beer. Like you're not drinking beer because you hate it. It's just
like the beer snobs. Oh my God, relax,
Memphis Tap Room became that place.
Yeah.
When Brendan was running, I came in like 2016. It was like I love Tom Peters, but he's always an inside voice guy. We're in Belgium.
Yeah,
we were running this thing and it was like it wasn't fun. So I just did the most insane things. Like, hey, we'll have the THC Derby. What's that? I'm like, we'll figure it out. Ended up being T-ball hitting cans. But just like stupid stuff to have fun because beer should be fun.
Can I ask you, I just want to stop this real quick. We're going to do a quick left-hand turn. Triple D came to Memphis Taproom.
Yes.
Were you there when that happened? Like, what was that experience like?
I was there. Like, I was one of the founders,
They came
it was
in,
funny. At that
they shot
time,
their
I
scenes
was
and
not
left.
comfortable being on camera or talking.
Yeah.
I realized, that was kind of dumb.
Yeah.
It was great. It was great for the staff. It was terrible for the business. In that,
It was bad? Why?
Because
it brought
we got
in
a ton of
of
business. Because we made no money selling food. We made money selling beer. And what happened,
everyone wanted to come in. And
you have all these people come into town. They want to have like 4 Coca-Colas.
Yeah.
And they don't want to drink the beer. And the only way, like,
take
we paid
pictures,
people
like,
well, we
where
bought
I'm
the
at.
best food. Oh, yeah. So it was like, it was busy times, but difficult also. It was a mixed bag, completely being frank.
Cool.
So
well, not cool, but like that's very
well,
interesting.
it's weird. Like even over the winter, like people come in like 7 years later. The episode was on like 2 weeks ago. Like it's the middle of winter. Oh, well, how come we don't have that pork belly watermelon salad on? It's like because it's December 4th. Yeah, but you can get watermelons anywhere. Like you really don't know us. Like we're having the watermelon salad when those watermelons are great.
Yeah.
And we're tweaking based on what we can get as fresh as we can get.
Yeah.
So that was the downside of that.
Gotcha. It's very cool that like Memphis Taproom did not just like.
You have a Triple D?
No.
All right.
It took me a while to figure out, like, wait, just trying to see, like...
Guy Fieri come up, parked the wrong way down there. He comes in for like a couple shots. Out the door, yeah.
That's so funny. So it is very cool that like Memphis Taproom like turned into Meeting House. Like it wasn't just a forgotten
that's where we're on the way when
sorry we kidnapped you guys, but
well no, I screwed up. Sorry,
I was just in there last week. I mean, it's awesome. Also, side note, I've heard, I guess Jake, somebody told us that Meeting House is like the number 6 Guinness account in the whole city.
Is it really?
And like the Guinness
number 1.
And the Guinness rep came in and was just like, I didn't even know you guys existed, and like you guys are my 6th biggest account. Like, what is happening right now?
They're pouring the best fucking Guinness in the city.
Yeah, we've talked about
without a doubt the best.
Yeah.
We've talked about this.
Sorry, Fergie. Sorry, like bar that has been around for Prohibition or before that pours the shit of Guinness. It's the best.
I don't know what you're talking about. But we've talked about this in the past. Like, maybe this is a sore subject. I don't think that you're going to care. Like, the craft beer industry kind of goes in cycles.
We're leading up to something here. Huh?
I know.
Yeah, like, you guys are the lager industry, but like,
Excuse me?
You guys, I guess, are the lager industry, lager brewery, kind of in the area. Like, you guys are known for making lagers.
Do we make good haze?
Yes, you make great hazy, but you have you're wearing a hat that says.
So a couple years.
You're wearing a hat that says lager.
I'm only half laughing about that because a couple years ago, one of my friends, Kate from Finback, was saying something like, she's like, "Man, the lagers are good. You're getting all this." I was like, "Yeah," it's like kind of pissing me off. Like we're making really good hazy and nobody cares. And she kind of slapped me down. It was like, "Listen, in this industry at this time, if people recognize you for something, you better embrace it, and you're doing well. So shut up." And since then, I've been cool. That's fine. But at the time, also, we were, I printed something on my story yesterday. Do you remember we had the human beers and like the robot beers? Because our philosophies early were human beers were like traditional things, mostly lager beers. Hazy beers like Stupid Kettle Sour, whatever hazies we were doing. And, I was like, well, those are just as good. So that's why I'm taking slight offense to it.
Got it.
The lager brewery.
Yeah, what I was trying to say is like you guys kind of embrace this thing of like lagers are very popular right now, and you guys have been kind of known for lagers. You guys have also embraced this whole idea of how important carbonation is. You have like the side pull tabs, what are they called again? The Lucre tabs, and you guys have kind of like pushed that like glassware is important, the presentation, and kind of like.
For those that don't know, like Lucre is a side pull. There's a series of screens. Those screens filter out the largest of the carbonation bubbles, so you're left with this creamy, wet,
like
foam
milky,
just delicious.
Delicious.
Yeah,
and it also has to be poured properly. It has to be poured on a 45 degree. There are breweries in the country that made a whole thing of like a hard pour, slow pour pills, whatever. My friends, I was in Lucre recently. They hard poured something, and then they soft poured like we did, and they gave us spoons to keep the foam. The difference in the spoons was amazing.
It's part of this complete breakfast.
It was just amazing how much richer properly poured foam beer was.
That's very funny.
It was very, very educational for me.
Yeah. So you guys have been pushing this, but like at some point, lagers aren't going to go away, but it's like hazy IPAs kind of had their day. Like we just talked about.
They're not good. You know that, man, huh?
Yeah, Saison, all your beer is great. I think if you make
let him ask the question.
Everyone's shocked. Yes, sorry.
Let him ask.
If you can make great lagers, you make hazy IPAs. But like at some point, I think everyone is going to kind of learn how to make lagers, or like a lot of breweries are going to be making lagers. And at some point, even if we don't want to admit it, it's going to become like now everybody's making lagers. My opinion. But, what's next after that? Is it English pub ales? Is it like do people embrace the carbonation side of it, where it's like stuff like Guinness and nitro beers, or like low carbonation like cask ales? Like, what's the next thing after lager? I know I'm saying this as we're just getting into the lager thing. Like, why can't I just sit here and enjoy lager while it's happening?
But I feel like anybody can make a hazy IPA because how much you can mask the errors in hazy IPAs, but not everybody can make a really good lager. And I feel like people are more, I would say like there are some part of the industry is worried about aggressively carbing a lager or a clear beer. Yeah. I feel like the carbonation is a little bit more softer on the East Coast than it is on the West Coast, because in the West Coast they just rip it. So it's a lot. I mean, it really does affect like the flavor profile and just how you really experience a good beer. But why are you trying to think ahead? Like, don't just jump. Just enjoy the moment.
Not drinking ahead. Yes, that's why I'm like, maybe I'm overthinking this. But like,
we're about to go into summer.
Even like some of your brewers, like I follow them. Like a lot of people that like Human Robot are also, Guinness is having like people love Guinness right now. It's exploding.
Have you ever had our dry Irish stout?
No.
We have a dry Irish.
It's really good.
Irish stout on nitro is like 3.6.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
It's not on right now, but Andrew makes it just for himself to pour.
Yeah.
I would say this. I find that like I believe it's coming back to just like the OG 70s styles.
Not just lager, but original styles.
I also think a breath of all those things before and after. But I think you'd already said something about pub ales are big, miles are big.
Well, I mean, what was the cask ale event like? Because I think in a couple of years there's going to be a shift. Like cask ales are almost going to come back. Was there kind of an energy to it?
What was weird for me was it was so different than most fests I go to. It was like people I saw like 20 years ago. Beer fest. I mean, the actual people.
Yeah.
And you don't see them out much. The Human Robot experience for me has been interesting because I'll travel all around the country.
Yeah.
People come up, we like your beer, we love your beer, we love your beer. I'll talk to someone in Philadelphia, they're like, I don't know, who are you? Do you sell in bars? Like, you don't sell in supermarkets? Oh, you must be like, yeah, okay. So I guess you're irrelevant. And I mean, this is literal conversations that have people, paraphrasing a little bit.
Yeah.
That if we don't sell beer in bars, I think what's coming is MiLuna, whatever other projects are coming in, and back to a community-based experience of beer. Not, EQ coming down and selling 100 cases of Memphis Tap Room, which happened. Not other half going in here and doing this. Not, Trillium, love them. Same thing, though. Like, they're coming down and doing a big thing and taking over. I think it's going. And I'll say this, I'll go back a step. Why did I get into brewery business for Memphis Tap Room? Because I realized like 5 years ago, I found people would rather drink in a subpar brewery than a world-class beer bar. There's something about this experience of being in the place and the camaraderie of where it's being made, and then the jump from this one to this one to this one. I don't think that's going away for the time being. What I do think is Yards is going to lose some people. Maybe Mainstay lose some people. We lose some people. And they float over to Cartesian. They float over to a second district. They float to MiLuna. So I think what's coming is smaller, community-focused drinking and experiences.
I mean, you said that.
Awesome.
I just think that's.
I can't wait for that.
But I'm watching the trend. Great. I mean, why are we popular? We're popular because we're like counted. Like, granted, like which breweries are PA now. Like, people go to Philly, you should go there. We get that, a lot of people out in the market. But at the end of the day, it was because we opened this little kind of quirky community place, and people came and had beer, and the beer was pretty good.
Yeah.
But it's also the experience is good. Your favorite book, Unreasonable Hospitality, which is about 11 Madison Park. But the overwhelming philosophy that you can take into any business is hospitality. Be nice to people.
You guys have your beer in 11 Madison Park, right?
Yeah, is that crazy?
That's amazing.
I just saw that.
Dude, so they came up to me at New York Beer Week, and they're like, hey. I was like, no, we don't do that. And then we got around to a thing because Zahav and a few places here only need a case of beer every once in a while. It doesn't really cut into our production. So I told her to send an email. And then Jake was like, I'll take it from here. And I was like, who are they? He's like, what are you, an idiot? And then on the flight to Prague, I bought a book that I saw her reading, which is Unreasonable Hospitality. And it was all about the growth of that business. And Will Guerrero, is how you pronounce his name? Will Guerrero is like personal journey with Daniel, the chef, and the team that he developed to be the best. And to be the best, you can be the best, whether it's a podcast, it's a car dealership, it's somebody doing tires, it's a supermarket.
Yeah.
By being nice to people and giving an experience that you are all in on.
And it's
being
like
nice
to
your
yourself.
employees too.
Sorry?
It's being nice to your
That's
employees
part-
too.
That's inherently part of the experience.
Yeah.
How can I expect my employees to be the best of people unless they're treated with that same level of respect?
100%,
and if I'm being
yeah.
honest, we don't have employees in our place. We have we're all in it together. We do. I'm being a little philosophical, but it's literally the experience in Human Robot is who you come in and meet today. Whether it's Dick or Kim. Or Cam,
I went to high school with Kim, by the way. Side note, but when you come into Human Robot, you don't feel like you're talking to an employee. You feel like I'm coming in, I'm getting the Human Robot experience. I'm coming into an experience there. It's a community.
And to me, a lot of it's, I use the term evangelization a lot, evangelizing.
Yeah.
It really is about, this is what we're doing. It's fun. These guys are working hard. But it's also better, the more people do that, better for the whole beer community. And then also having, being able to tell people, you should go here, you should do this, you should try this.
Mm-hmm.
I often now get hit up hey, I'm going up here. Where should I go? Because a lot of these places are off the radar.
Yeah.
The KCBC is off the radar,
And make some of the best lagers in Brooklyn.
And good people.
Oh my God,
to me,
the best.
big part of what I am and my friends and stuff on the road is they're actually really good people.
So when we got started, even way before we started this podcast, I got connected to them. They were 24 years old at the time. They were just going up to kind of create general beer content in New York, and I was the one place I was we have to go to KCBC, and KCBC went in. They talked to the managers and the owners there, and of all the places that we went all around Brooklyn. KCBC was the place that was every employee there, all the brewers, the bartenders, the owners, basically embraced everything that they were doing. It's just same thing that what a lot of people say about Human Robot. When we talk to a lot of people and we get the energy sometimes you're not good enough for us.
Yeah.
We're looking for the best thing, but then as they're saying that to us, they're looking at you guys well, we wish we were Human Robot. I'm just yeah, but Human Robot has been here twice and we've only had 12 episodes so far. It's you guys aren't turning down anything. It's just you guys aren't worried about what other people think about you. You guys are just being good people, being open and kind of embracing this community feel of craft beer. And, people are just recognizing that. It's negative people in the industry are taking that the wrong way. But it's this is... I don't know. I think it's great.
Yeah, kind of exactly what you're doing. You're also doing us a service by being able to put in, a dialogue, what we're trying to do, what's important to us. How else is that going to get out there?
Yeah.
And if you're only...
Well, I think you're smart enough to realize that. I think some of these other people are just no, it's a high school popularity contest. We don't want to do this. Not realizing the fact that
Who are they, man? Name them.
What are you?
We're going there tonight.
We're not doing that. But it's just it's we've talked about it. It's a we look at each other afterwards and what are these people doing? We see what's happening. I don't understand this kind of the negative feedback of.
They're probably the same people though that are paying social media person to take some picture of their kid.
Yeah, most of their
and wondering why they get 3.5 likes on Instagram.
Yeah, when
they have 25,000.
Most of the time, if you're doing one thing wrong, you're probably doing a lot of other things wrong, and it's
Also, there's no room for douchiness in the world.
Yes, exactly.
True. I don't mean to brag one more time about the MJF, but one of our awardees was hired by KCBC not too long ago, and he just got promoted to brewer. So now he's currently being trained on the brew deck. And not too long ago, he accepted the position as board member for the MJF.
Nice. Just climbing the ranks.
Yeah, yeah.
And here we have another podcast bump.
Oh, no.
What's going to happen Logjammin weekend?
Oh, yeah. So this awardee, he's going to be here for Logjammin to talk about the MJF and how much he's done. And his name is Rafa de Armas, and he's phenomenal. He's Venezuelan, and he just has the most amazing story. So, again, breweries like KCBC, who brew amazing beer, Rafa is he's in great hands with KCBC because they've just been really empowering him and giving him a great stability of learning how to become a great brewer. And he's with the brewery that's going to teach him all of those things. So again, the industry might sometimes get a bad rep, but there are some amazing breweries in this industry who are here to
definitely.
do the right
I think
thing.
that some of the negative voices sometimes like they overpower, but like, you know, I think us as, especially you guys as kind of leaders in the industry and like kind of me as a podcast, we need to like remind everybody like this is like, you know, there's positive, like this is a great industry. Like we need to kind of like fix some issues, but like for the most part, like this is amazing. Like we need
I have friends like her. I have friends like Jeff Cousins from every different
all over the
background
world
in America.
Yeah.
We're all different. And only through beer would we have come together. And
beer is a connector.
We're really great friends.
Yeah. Breaks barriers.
So for Logjammin last year, we did a women's forum. Breeze has another side hat called Luminary Voices. During Logjammin this year, what we decided to do is do something Sunday at our Schuylkill Banks location.
Cool.
I don't know. Can you speak on that a little bit?
Oh yeah. So for funsies, because I have nothing to do. Obviously, I started a podcast with some amazing women who are also in production, who come from different, who have different. Let's see. The women on my podcast are diverse, so it's like the different cultures, right?
Cool.
Coming together to talk about the beer industry and also learning from the beer industry. So we're gonna have a live podcast, or we're gonna come together, do a panel on Sunday, the day after Logjammin, to discuss like the importance of the foundation, the MJF, and also just Philly beer scene. And so Rafa will be there. My girl Andreina, who also does a podcast with me, we're going to be in there.
Hannah from Love City is going to participate to give a little philosophy on Philadelphia.
Yeah,
Nice.
and I'm asking one of my girlfriends. She owns an amazing michelada business out in the West Coast.
Cool.
It's called I Love Michelada. So I'm going to ask her if she can send out like a box of micha mix out to the spot, because when you're hungover, when you're hungover, the Mexican remedy is to drink michelada. So it's
and I hate
not?
Bloody Marys. So.
Exactly. it's like the hair of the dog, but better. So we're going to have that and offer that. And it's just going to be a lot of fun, because that's what we like to do. We just have the best time.
Awesome.
And lots of Spanglish will be happening that day, because Andreina and I, we always play around with that whenever we do the podcast.
And also for us, we don't always do it. Like Logjammin kind of falls in Philly Beer Week, and often people think it's a Philly Beer Week event, which I'm happy to do. But this will be our first real other like Philly Beer Week thing, all part of Logjammin weekend, and all part of trying to bring better energy, frankly speaking, to the world we're all in.
And we have a guest band coming to close the festival. I don't know if we can talk about it yet, but Nickelback will be there. No, we can't say that. Fine, no, they won't.
Wait, I don't know. You said
because I was in a car last year. You got to remember, I'm a child of the '70s.
Yeah.
And I'm in with like her, like Mac from North Park, Sean from Halfway Crooks, Zach from Schilling, and like Nickelback comes on, and they're just like screaming at the top of their voice.
I love this. It was amazing.
And I'm kind of like in, but like
who doesn't love Nickelback?
I'm not saying I didn't love it.
Okay.
I couldn't go word for word with everyone.
But we did.
That's right. Throw me little sticks or some 70s stuff, and I'll be like doing it. No, it was great.
Yeah, it was good.
Nice. So I think we have to wrap it up. But do you guys want to push anything? I mean, you are in the midst of opening up a brewery.
Yes. I dropped my awesome brewery in January. The brand is called MiLuna Brewing, MiLuna, and it's going to be in Brooklyn. And I can't wait. And beer will be coming out in the next few months, and I'm really excited. And the MJF. It's all about the MJF.
So I thought you were the busiest person in the world, but I think you are the busiest person in the world now.
I have ADHD and dyslexia, so I get bored really easily. I get bored so fast, so I need things like all the time. I need to constantly be busy.
Got it.
It's kind of my thing.
Awesome. So I guess, you're here for Logjammin. We got Logjammin coming up.
Tickets still available on our website. There's still a few VIP left. An amazing day. You can also just make a contribution to the Michael J. Jackson Foundation.
Cool, and I'm sure Evan will provide a link somewhere on our post.
Cool, that'd be great.
Yeah. I guess.
I really appreciate your time and taking your time to do this with us.
Yeah, we're happy to have you guys on. A surprise visit from you, very exciting. Like you said, it's kind of weird that everyone knows you, but you are somebody in the industry, and it's very cool that you're kind of being, doing the right thing. You're not just in the industry just to kind of get attention. You are, I don't know. You're
she's legit.
You're legit. It's I've known who you are on Instagram. It's like to meet you and then realize talk to you in person. You're a real person. It is kind of a funny thing.
I'm big on authenticity. I think one of the reasons we've never given our Instagram account, because I think you lose authenticity. She's as authentic as they come.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, it's true.
Yeah, I just really love the industry, and I really love my people, and I just wish that there was more of that in the industry, and I really want to see that happen, and I'm doing that
with leaders
Garrett.
like you and people like you, frankly speaking. I feel like that it will grow.
Yeah.
And, someone has to take the spearhead, and I'm happy to be your friend and watch you do it.
No, it's very exciting.
That's so sweet. Thank you.
So we have MiLuna, MJF Foundation, Human Robot, and Logjammin, and then you can follow the BrewedAt podcast on social media. I think that's it.
That's amazing. Yes.
Perfect. We covered all the bases. Thank you again for coming on.
Thank you, brother.
Appreciate it.